Meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use our directives for the common good, and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. And for those of you on the outside watching this meeting, if you heard a lot of young voices doing that Pledge of Allegiance, we have a number of youth in the audience today. And it is so good to hear such enthusiasm with that Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. All right, with that, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Tyler.
Here.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. All right, we have the first public comment portion. I believe Commissioner Plechnik has something for us.
Mr. President, it's customary, and I believe that it should be mandatory, that we recognize extraordinary events and achievements throughout Lake County, but there are few things more extraordinary than a lifelong, honest partnership between people who sincerely care about, love, and take care of each other. And it's with great honor that Lake County recognizes the 50th wedding anniversary of Jeffrey L. and Beverly E. Frischkorn. We want to honor and recognize them on behalf of not just the Board of Lake County Commissioners, but all the residents and neighbors of Lake County. Whereas, as lifetime residents of Lake County, Jeffrey and Beverly, Jeff and Bev, have been married since May 20, 1972. The couple was married at the Bible Community Church in Mentor, Ohio. They currently attend Grace Church of Mentor. They have a daughter, Rebecca, who is a graduate of Mentor Schools. She currently lives in Knoxville, Tennessee with her husband, Gabe, and their 5 children, Grace, Hope, Nehemiah, Elijah, and Humility. Whereas Jeffrey was employed as a reporter for the News Herald, Chad Felton, I hope you're watching virtually. You might want to write an article about this. Whereas Jeff was employed as a reporter for the News Herald for nearly 30 years, before retiring, he won more than 100 state, regional, and national journalism awards. Since retiring, he continues to write for the Outdoor Ohio News. Bev was employed by Mentor Schools for more than 30 years and was a Systems Board Office receptionist. They are both members of the Outdoor Writers of Ohio, and they are both recipients of the group's Kluwer-Laylock Award, presented for meritorious service to the organization. Jeff has served 2 non-consecutive terms as OWO president. Bev is the group's newsletter editor, and they continue to serve the community in numerous capacities. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Lake County Commissioners, congratulate Jeff and Bev Frischkorn as they celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. We extend best wishes to Jeff and Bev and wish them many more years of health, contentment, and fulfillment from all the gifts that life bestows, surrounded by loving family, countless friends, and a proud community. Bev, Jeff, would you please step forward? Would you mind taking with his camera as well? Mm-hmm. You two should hold that together.
Where's your camera? I don't know how to use this phone.
He's out, kids. What are you going to do?
introducing for the 50th year, Mr. and Mrs. Bev and Jeff Bristol.
So I understand you figured it out, huh?
Just recently.
I got the fish and chicken.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So I understand the backstory on this is, although you were trying to do this as a surprise, she figured it out. So after 50 years, she knows all your tricks. Is that? There you go. Commissioner Pletching, anything else you want to add to that, sir?
Just that you've given us something to aspire to be loyal and faithful as a family for 50 years, with hopefully another 50 to come. It's one of the greatest blessings God could give anyone, and thank you for standing as an example for our entire community.
Well said, sir. I can appreciate that. I was honored that my parents made it there, but I've lost my father since then. But mother is still counting the days, so she takes that till death do us part, meaning both. So that's a little old school thinking, but God bless her, that's where she is.
Well,
Sir.
50 years is an extraordinary accomplishment. Congratulations to you both. So we have about another 8 years to go. So any advice to the rest of us?
I catch the fish and she cleans them.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Congratulations.
Excellent, excellent. All right, moving into our public pour.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Mr. Engineer Jim Gills. He's giving me the finger here.
Not yes.
The pointy finger, the pointy finger.
This one.
It's like, well, allow me to be precise.
Not so fast. I have an announcement, and you guys may be aware of it, but I don't know if the public is fully aware of it. But Morley Road is closed on Thursday afternoon. A CEI primary line carrying 7,400 volts dropped on the road and started a fire. So it is presently closed. I'm not sure how long it's going to be before it'll be open again, but most likely no sooner than the first part of next week. It is closed between Strawbridge and Pinecrest. So
Thanks for getting that press release out so timely. It saved me a detour this morning. So thank you.
Yeah, we did send out a press release, but I thought maybe I should reiterate it this morning.
Indeed. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, public comment. Yes, sir. Mr. Massey. I'm not sure. Oh, there you go. Come on up. We got all these youth in the audience here. Smiling faces all around. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Elaine Nelson. My address is 5822 Woodhill Street, Painesville, Ohio. I am here to try to save our profession and secure our future. I am a licensed respiratory therapist, but I am also a cosmetic therapist. I have 2 Medi-Spas, one in Menor, one in Chardon, and I have ran them for 18 years. Cosmetic therapists, we do laser hair removal or electrolysis. It is a dying profession. There was 220 of us in the state before COVID, now there's 185. What do? We treat all things that hair causes. So regular women will have a PCOS. They will grow full beards like men. It's very awful for them to have to endure. Ultimately, the facial hair takes the femininity away from women. And this is something that our service can give back. We also do medical procedures. There's pilonidal cysts that people get on the top of their buttocks, and it's ingrown hairs that becomes infected, and then they have to go either have it surgically removed, and to prevent that, we remove the hair from that spot. So doctors refer us. We get referrals from doctors' offices. for these kinds of things. The PCOS affects 5 million women in the United States alone. So there is a lot of hairy women out there. They do go to great lengths to hide it. And then when they get tired of it, they come to us and we can permanently remove it. We also serve the LGBTQ community. We are part of the medical transition team. We remove the hair for bottom surgery, and they cannot have the surgery until the hair is removed. So we're an integral part of that team, and I have referrals from all the hospitals downtown for this group of people. So what has happened over the last year is the Buckeye Institute in Columbus is trying to de-license 60 occupations to make Americans obtain livable wage jobs. I am in agreement with this. I don't have a problem with it, but we were one of the first groups that they put through, and we were under the medical board, and we had, our scope of practice is electrolysis and delegation of laser. So when that happened, the medical board said, oh, well, you're not licensed cosmetic therapist anymore. You're just cosmetic therapist, and it's going to take a while to change the rule, and you're going to have to stop practicing as of April 2021. When we went back to the Buckeye Institute, they didn't realize how integrated we were with the medical board and that we need a doctor to able to do laser. So we went to Governor DeWine, and he made them change the wording at the medical board to take the word license out, is all they had to do. And then we were able to practice. What we are trying to obtain is to get our scope of practice changed. How it works now is I have to have a doctor present for the first treatment of everybody for laser hair removal because they have to look at the test spots. After that, we can laser by ourselves without him present. We are the only group in Ohio that can do that. A nurse cannot do that. A physician's assistant cannot do that. Only a doctor can run a laser besides us. So what has happened over years is the doctors have all been employed by the hospitals. This happened like 19 years ago. When they're employed by the hospitals, they will not allow them to work for anybody else. So I employ an independent physician. He is 71 years old. I won't let him retire because he's all I have, because I can't hire anybody else. So our field is, if I don't have a doctor, I cannot maintain a living. I worked simultaneously as a full-time respiratory therapist for 18 years and ran my business part-time before I was able to live on it. So I worked a very long time and very hard to get to the point that I have an independent business. And there are 6 women-owned independent laser and electrologist businesses in the state of Ohio, and I am one of them. The other people that do laser hair removal are big chains, big corporations. They do not offer electrolysis. So laser does the dark hair. Electrolysis is with a needle, hair by hair, for light hair, white hair, gray hair. The laser doesn't pick those up. So it's a needed combination for people. So what I'm looking to have done is to have our scope of practice changed so that it puts laser hair removal in the scope of practice. And then the second part of that is the medical board has the rules for these lasers. It's considered a surgical device. So then we would go to the medical board, and instead of them having the doctor delegate to us, we need a collaboration with the doctors, much like physician's assistants or nurse practitioners have. Now, just recently in the last 2 years, the nursing board has allowed nurse practitioners to do laser without a doctor. So we have 700 hours of training for hair removal. Nurse practitioners don't have any. They can buy a $150,000 laser, and they'll get a couple hour in service from the company. So we are the absolute experts in this field in Ohio. So I'd like to be put in the place of, like the nurse practitioners, to get a collaboration with the doctor. You have to have a doctor to even buy the machine. So you have to have a medical director. So all of our businesses have that. But if I lose my medical director, then I can't no longer function as a business. So I have revised this 3 times. I just sent you another revised copy this morning, and I included you on that where I didn't before. So I really kind of wanted some help in, changing our scope of practice, if possible, because eventually we will no longer find independent physicians.
Sure.
And be able to practice.
Have you reached out to Senator Strino, Senator Yuko?
I tried, but I can't email my whole thing to them.
Okay.
So I was going to go home, and I had to shorten it up to paste it in that little spot. So
Reason I asked is being legislative, obviously our House reps, Dan Troy, Jamie Callender,
Right.
they're the ones who actually would be able to serve what you're doing. We're just,
Right.
essentially, we're little more than local elected officials.
right, and I kind of just wanted some support up to the top. Senator McCauley co-sponsored this bill, and what happened is they made it very cumbersome. He reached out to the medical board to see how to write our scope of practice, and they would not help him. So he took the existing rule from the medical board and made it into law. So the problem with that is when there's a rule in the medical board, every 5 years, they review that rule. We get a chance to comment on it. They change it, they can revise it. But when it's a law, the med board cannot review this law and change it. So if it's, made it too cumbersome and is tying our hands the way that the law is written, so that's why I just want either, Senator McCauley, maybe he can amend that law. I don't know really where to go from here to have that done.
First blush, I would agree with you. Amending it makes sense. The model you might want to consider following would be this is going to sound a little bit of an abstract, follow the state building code. Those codes get updated every 3 years. So for example, the electrical code, every 3 years a new code comes out. So whatever legislation follows that, I'm sure there's something, I'm going to kind of look towards legal, but I'm sure there's some language there that follows what the current code is from that specific discipline. So that it might be a good analogy that you could share with the legislator to help them bridge that gap. It's something that they're
Because they do it for the utilities.
take something they're familiar with, apply it to something they're not familiar with, similarly situated. I'm looking at legal and he's giving me that. John, don't ask me these kind of questions.
No, that's an option, but more importantly, this is a state representative issue.
Thank you. But that if I could give a piece of advice, that's what I would suggest. Give them something that they're already familiar with as a rule and guide so that they can help address your specific concerns. Although I will turn to my colleague, you're a college professor teaching law, so what's your blush on this?
Mr. President, you're absolutely right that a substantive change to the Ohio Revised Code, which is what we're discussing, would ultimately require a vote of our state legislature. So our local state reps and senators are the folks who are in the best place to propose a bill that could make the amendment you're looking for. We certainly want to see independent women-owned businesses succeed in Lake County, and you have our support in that way. But ultimately, and this is something we've discussed many times at the STIAS, commissioners do not have the authority to change the law. In some counties and some states, counties do make their own laws, but Ohio, we simply implement state law on the books. This is a forum where we can discuss the issue, and I think you've done a great job in representing your profession, explaining the problem, and I think you have a very viable proposed solution. Now the key is to get in front of some of your state reps and senators and make sure that they're aware of this problem. I don't know if they watch these meetings, but I do believe that they're very responsive And I think that you'll find if you reach out to them, you will hear back soon. So I would commend you to State Senator Jerry Serino, State Senator Kenny Yuko, who's also the minority leader in the Senate, State Representative Dan Troy, and State Rep Jamie Callender. I believe you'll find that they will all reach back to you.
Okay. Chris, Councilwoman, Eastlake Councilwoman Chris.
Chris Craniak.
Yeah, she's helping me with this too, so, you know, I'm just trying to get the support of the local and then move farther with it.
Mayor Morley's also in attendance if you want to see him. I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm going to throw you under the bus here. You know, he'd probably be a good ally too. So, you know, more grassroots, also
Sure.
ties to Kenny Yuko, Jerry Serino.
A lot of people are surprised with how responsive our state reps and senators are. I know that sometimes you feel you have to go to your council person or commissioner, and we're here to listen. And where we can make a change, we do. But I want to give you the good news that our local legislators really do respond. They're not sitting in some tower somewhere unreachable. If you reach out, they will reach back. Now, you have to convince them. But I don't think that they're going to ignore you, and I strongly suspect that all of them will agree that preserving locally owned, women-owned businesses is a strong priority, and having unnecessary red tape that prevents you from doing your work is going to resound pretty strongly with them too.
I did reach out to Senator McCauley, and they were responsive every time that I did, and they just, the school was involved, and they wanted different wording. And then Macaulay got, you know, he just went with what he knew was in black and white.
Now, are you talking about Rob Macaulay?
No, I don't think it's, I can't recall his
What
first.
district, what part of Ohio?
I can't recall his name. I know he's in Columbus.
Well, nonetheless, he's not your local
Right.
senator or rep, and you know, just like the ward council person is really there for their ward and your neighborhood, you know, so too our local reps and senators, you know, they're really here to serve you and your unique needs. So it doesn't surprise me that a rep from Columbus who, you know, might not even be familiar with this area would be a little harder. I'm glad that he responded, but might be a little harder to work with because he's got his own folks from his corner of Ohio, you know, weighing on him too, and they might have a different perspective, but your reps and legislators are there to represent you.
Okay,
And
great.
I agree with all the comments from my colleagues, but they're your representatives. They want to see you succeed. I think you'll get a lot of support from them.
All right.
And thank you. I did get your correspondence, so thanks for including me.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Okay. Well, come on up.
Next. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us this morning. My name is Lisa Manning, and I work for the Ohio State University Extension Office, and I run our 4-H Youth Development Program. So for those of you who aren't familiar with 4-H, we promote youth development through various ways throughout the year. I have a few of my youth here today, but they do, all year long, they do community service, they do fundraising, they do lots of social activities where they're building relationships. They have club meetings where they work on their projects, and which is why we're here today, because they're going to be showcasing their projects next week at the county fair, which starts Tuesday, July 26th and goes through July 31st. Mostly here today we have livestock youth, but we also have at the fair saddle horse youth who are showcasing their projects and showing them shooting sports, non-animal projects. We have over 200 non-animal projects that you can sign up for. So each one of our youth are going to talk just a little bit about our upcoming auction. So they show all week, and then in livestock, and then the week concludes with our auction, which they raise these animals for sale. Our auction is Saturday, July 30th at 4 o'clock. People can come at 2 to start to register, and all the youth will be in the barns, and you can meet the youth, not just these youth, but all of our youth and their projects. And so I'm going to have each one kind of come up and to say a few things and be on our way.
Good morning. My name is Labitzicki. I'm in the club Bit of Luck, and I'm 11 years old. This is my first year in 4-H. I'm doing 2 pigs. I have a carcass pig named Sloppy Joe, and I also have a fair pig, Big Old Bob, number 53. 4-H animals are the best for you because they are fed all natural stuff that is good for you and tastes good too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaden Knight. I'm in the Biddle Club. I'm 10 years old. I've been in 4-H for 2 years. I'm taking 2 dairy beef steers and 2 hogs. My 2 hogs names are Lobster and Wilbert, and my 2 dairy beef steers are Wilbert and Jeb. If you buy a Grand Champion or Reserve Grand Champion, you get your picture taken with your purchase project, and it is posted in many places. The fair book, papers, our livestock flyers, to name a few. I have letters if anyone wants any.
They have examples of their buyer letters that they're going to show you.
Fantastic. Thank you. So that'd be Mom goosing them up there.
Mom's an advisor. Yeah. Mom's our advisor.
My name is Owen. I'm in the club of Biddleluck. I'm 10. I've been in 4-H my whole life.
He was born into it.
Nice.
My pigs are, Rex and Princess Leia and 5 that went to Carcass. And we provide a dinner for all buyers, which is very yummy.
Nice. Good morning.
My name is Vin Vojek, and I am in the club of Giddy Up Whoa. I am 11 years old, and I've been in 4-H for 3 years. For this fair, I'm bringing Hank the Army Tank III. Another reason 4-H animals are the best is because they are loved, cared for, and walked every day, so they lean with less fat than store or non-4-H animals. And I have 2 buyer's letters from me and my brother. And hope to see you all at fair.
Just got a couple more.
All good. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kylie Omis. I'm 16 years old. I'm in the Live Action Club. This is my 8th year in 4-H, and I do 2 pigs, 2 lambs, a steer, and a goat. And this year the Stars Club is going to be bringing back the fun show. It's going to be a $10 entry fee, and 50% is going to go to Aces Angels, and 50% is going to go to the Stars Club. And it's going to be for 3 groups of people: your parents/grandparents, the alumni, and anyone who's ever wanted to try showings like you guys. And sign-ups are going to start on Tuesday, the first day of fair, on the 26th, and go until Friday, which is the day of the fun show, the 29th, and it's going to start at 7.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Leanne Milo. I am in North Coast Critters 4-H Club. I am 14 years old. I have been in 4-H for 6 years. I will be bringing a pig. His name is Snoop Hogg. I'm bringing a pen of turkeys, and I'm bringing my horse, Callie. Available at our auction are hogs, steers, chickens, turkeys, lambs, goats. And if you don't want an entire animal, let us know when you register, and we can help you find someone to split with you. And you can also donate your animal to a charity such as Salvation Army. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least.
My name is Aiden Milo. My club is North Coast Critters. I am 11 years old. This is my 3rd year in 4-H. I am bringing a rabbit and chickens. My rabbit's name is Sniffles, and the auction takes MasterCard, Visa, American Express, checks, and cash.
Wow, you had the businessman at the end there, didn't you? Lisa, the floor is still yours.
So that just basically concludes our presentation. We just would like to see all of you at the fair, and acknowledging the kids who've been working all year round. They do really work hard on these projects all year round, and you will see that if you go to the Lake County Fair. So thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. I also have to give a shout out to our county engineer who's making sure that pavement is safe and you can move across it, and I give a great deal of thanks to your team over at the county engineer's office. The fair would not be what it's going to be without your diligent efforts. So for that, I say thank you, sir.
Mr. President?
Sir.
If I could just say I had the opportunity to participate in last year's 4-H auction, which was the biggest in history. So hopefully we'll see another record breaker this coming Saturday, July 30th. What time is it?
So registration starts at 2 o'clock. The auction starts at 4. We do provide a buyer dinner, like they stated. So when you register at 2 o'clock, there'll be a meal there for you as well. And the youth will all be in the barns with their projects for you to go and meet the youth. If you've gotten buyer letters, you can see their projects, their animals. And again, that's July 30th, starting at 4 o'clock.
Last year, I won the Reserve Champion Project Goat from Tegan Feister. Maybe a few of you know Tegan. And I will say, Beamer and I have been eating goat stew, goat chops, goat shanks all year round, and my puppy likes it. He says it's like a leaner pork.
So it's probably the best you've ever had, right?
The best goat we've ever had. It's also the only goat we've ever had. I think we might be going for a turkey or a chicken this year. We'll see. It all depends on what looks tasty.
So any of you with your buyer letters, any of you have turkeys or chickens? You want to go up and provide the commissioner? Well, you go up there and provide your buyer letters to the commissioners. They can take a look at them.
Beamer likes bacon too.
So go on up. Go on up. You can give them to each one of the commissioners. There you go. And those are letters they send out to community members and businesses all over Lake County. That's how we recruit our buyers. So.
And they're doing the heavyweight paper.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Teaching them
great.
well.
Yes, we are.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're going to give them to everybody. Okay, that's awesome.
If you have any one.
Buyer letters for everyone.
There you go. Our commissioner clerk, if there's onesies, she takes care of those. So, Jennifer, you want to? She actually runs things. We just sit here.
She's the silent partner. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. You're welcome to stay for the meeting or skedaddle, because it gets pretty boring after this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Chief. One more? Oh, absolutely. Chief, come on up.
Hi, everybody. That was actually a very tough act to follow, so I'll keep it pithy. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve Gagliardi. I'm the Chief of Police for Lakeland Community College Campus Police Department, and I'm just here simply to say thank you. Thank you to the commissioners for purchasing the Lexipol software program for not just our agency, but all law enforcement in Lake County. We just started our onboarding program with Lexipol, and I couldn't be happier to take this on. As many of you know, policy and procedure is a necessary but often brutal facet to our business, and it's tough to keep up with. And I'm very excited to jump both feet in with Lexipol and at least get our agency up and running. But on behalf of myself, our agency, Dr. Beveridge, and his administration, I just want to say thank you all very much. Thank you.
Chief, good to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. President,
sir,
I just want to say thank you for the work you do as a professor at Cleveland State. I recognize what an important job campus policing is. Everything from bomb threats to stolen laptops.
Yep.
You know, it's a difficult and different kind of policing, and thank you for keeping our students, our next generation safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Y'all have a great day.
Take care, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Okay. Mr. Massey, thank you for your patience, sir.
Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive in Concord Township. I'll try to be very brief. I'd like to give some recognition to some Lake County residents and also to some of our public officials. I could not attend last week's commissioners meeting because I had the privilege of being at Mentors Linda O'Brien's Liberty Camp. She has Liberty Camp USA that she promotes, and she's been doing it for many years. And it is a day camp. In Lake County, we had 101 young time travelers, as we call them, elementary and middle school age children. They went back to 1776 to learn about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They learned that the United States is a constitutional republic and not a democracy. They were taught the virtues of truth, vigilance, perseverance, courage, and valor. They learned about Swamp Fox, fur traders, Sam Adams, General George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, the Black Robe Regiment, the 8th Pennsylvania Regiment, Delaware Indians, Linda Daw. They became recruits of the Continental Army, and they actually signed their own Declaration of Independence. I'd like to publicly thank Lake County Recorder Becky Lynch as our Betsy Ross in helping out with the Liberty Camp, and also Republican Chairman Dale Fellows as reenactor of George Washington. They did a tremendous job. One final story, I happened to listen into the George Washington's lecture on the Constitution, and he asked one of the children to read the preamble to the Constitution, and this young man, from about 15 feet away, he started what we thought was reading the preamble. After he read it, George Washington said, "You didn't read that, you had that memorized." And he did. So I think he was about 7 or 8 years old, and his sister had taught him the preamble to the Constitution. We thought it was so wonderful that we asked the young man to do it again in front of all of the children, and he did perfectly. So we thank, again, Becky Lynch and Dale Fellows for their efforts. Thank you.
What ages were they?
I believe first, second graders all the way up through 8th graders, I believe, but we also had seniors or high school students that were helping out, and they were all dressed in that period. So it's a pretty special camp. It really is.
A lot of attendance, a lot of kids.
I beg your
A
pardon?
lot of kids attend.
Yeah, 101, and they're going to do it next week with, I believe, like 98 children in Geauga County. So it is a very special camp, and Linda O'Brien from Mentor should be commended for her tireless efforts. A lot of work.
Sounds like a great program.
Yes, it really is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board? Ma'am.
Hello, I'm Roxanne Fremont from Willoughby Hills. I'm 59 years old, and I really wish I didn't have to share this information, but I hope that even if you are not as concerned as I am, that you will appreciate the fact that I'm trying to be helpful by sharing this information. Is it possible I could give some supplemental?
Yeah, our clerk will.
If you could pass.
Thank you,
Pass
ma'am.
one to each of them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I offer that because I realize that what I'm going to say is so outside the box and unusual that without corroborating information and evidence, it might seem totally ridiculous and not plausible. Okay? I would like to share this information most people are not aware of, but will impact everyone, including the finances of this board, eventually. Back in March, the President signed Executive Order 14067, which is in your packet, at least the first 4 pages, because it's a long document. The order is titled Ensuring Responsible Development of Digital Assets. Jim Rickards is a former advisor to the Pentagon, the White House, the CIA, and the Defense Department. He is also a lawyer and an investment banker. He describes the order as the, I'm quoting him now, death warrant of American freedom. According to him, Section 4 of the document sets the stage for legal government surveillance of all U.S. citizens, total control of your bank accounts and purchases, and provides the ability to silence all dissenting voices for good. Jim Rickard argues that your cash will be replaced with new programmable digital vouchers, also called a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. The CBD system has already been created in partnership with MIT and will allow total control of all American citizens. If you visit the World Economic Forum's website, which promotes central bank digital currency, including this policy making for toolkit for policy makers, you will see that a number of countries have already implemented this at various phases. And the G7 nations in particular seem to have a strong commitment to it. Rickard argues your cash will replace with a new programmable digital voucher, a central bank digital currency, which has been created by MIT. I said that. Every digital dollar will be programmed by the U.S. government. That means it'll be, I should actually say the Federal Reserve. That's not correct. That means they will be able to turn on and turn off your money at will. For example, if the government decides in the name of net zero green energy goals, you cannot drive further than 5 miles from your home, but you travel 7 miles to your new job and then seek to get gasoline, you might find that your CBDC money is turned off and you can't purchase the gasoline. Similarly, you might go try to purchase meat and you may have a meat quota because you're not buying enough insect meat or whatever, who knows. The possibilities to restrict human behavior along the lines of the Chinese social credit system are endless. So I provided in this packet an article that details how one would work. Government mulls money that can only be spent on approved items at the very back. But the question is, how would this be ushered in? And that article's probably dealt with. It's a little bit complicated because it's really for a financially savvy audience. That doesn't mean, of course, you guys don't get that. I don't mean to assume something like that, but it is a little bit complicated, I think. A complete lock of the system will occur by Greg Manarino, who's at traderschoice.net. He's a financial hedge fund manager over 25 years. Manarino's argued that COVID lockdowns were engineered to condition people for totalitarian compliance and preparation for an even bigger event. That event is a complete lockup of the financial system. When that event happens, credit cards, ATM cards, debit cards will no longer work. Every transaction will stop. Manarino states, quote, a lack of liquidity in the system, despite finding ever more reasons to borrow, will eventually reach a saturation point. This saturation point will and is already manifesting itself in the form of skyrocketing inflation worldwide, end quote. On his podcast, Manarino regularly warns his global audience to expect another hyped-up crisis, overstated crisis, like COVID, to usher in the planned central bank digital currency system. The World Economic Forum and Federal Reserve have both warned of cyber attacks to our financial system. We could all wake up and be told that the Russians have hacked our financial system and caused more financial records to be wiped out, providing then a convenient pretext for the confiscation of all 401k, pension, and bank funds. It is hard for Americans to imagine this loss of liberty. We all want to believe it can't happen here, and hopefully it won't. I'm not wishing that, obviously. But we should remember that President Franklin Roosevelt, who in 1933 confiscated all the gold that Americans held. Americans were forced to turn in their gold in exchange for paper notes that were later substantially devalued. So this impulse is part of the American condition, it would seem, and has been part of American history before. Is this plan really coming from the mindset of President Biden? No. The plan is an initiative put forth by the World Economic Forum, Federal Reserve, BlackRock, and the Bank of International Settlements to have all central banks issue a central bank digital currency. And you can go to the Federal Reserve's website, MIT's website, and see various documents with regard to that as part of the plan. Here's the World Economic Forum's webpage that includes a central bank digital toolkit for policymakers, which I showed you. And you should worry, the World Economic Forum has openly stated twice that by 2030, only 8 years from now, people will all own nothing. That means they've decided no one in this room will own anything. They have declared economic warfare on the people of this planet. When you see farmers complaining about diesel fuel prices, other related issues, this is part of their goal. It's why Bill Gates is buying up all of U.S. farmland. There's many aspects of our lives that can be traced back to the World Economic Forum, including, for instance, the LGBTQ transgender agenda and transhumanism, which this is too far outside the scope of my topic to discuss. But if you have questions, I'm happy to provide information on that as well. Basically,
Transhumanism?
Transhumanism. I'll be happy to explain that if I can finish this, and if you'd like, I'll be...
No, it just...
I have to do it off the cuff without any... I tried hard to document what I'm saying, but I'd have to do it without documentation. I have to give it to you on the fly, okay?
My apologies.
No need to apologize. These are all things that are would strike people as being incredulous, so I understand.
Thank you.
So they have an intention for no human beings to own anything, and of course that would mean who owns everything? Likely they will own everything. Their friends, central bankers, will own everything. Is it really any wonder then that they seek a totalitarian financial system and are trying to implement it via central banks like the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, throughout the planet? So what does this mean for Lake County? Well, for starters, I don't believe that the sheriff, God bless him, will see this jail. By the way, I forgot, before I continue, a complete lockup of the system will occur by Gregory Manarino. Right here. It's in your packet, so you can read that.
Yes.
Okay. As well as a printout of a letter by this World Economic Forum explicitly stating, well, it was in Forbes magazine, welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been any better. And even if they don't accomplish this, it states what their value system is, where they're coming from. We fight on many fronts, and we're pitted at each other across political lines, thinking we're fighting each other, Democrats versus Republicans, when actually we have a common enemy and don't realize it. All the societal changes we see in our society are coming from the same place. Everybody else is just not realizing that to some extent, either going along with it and helping to implement it, or fighting it and not knowing what they're fighting. So, okay. So this is me for the county. For starters, I don't believe the sheriff will ever see his jail. These events are unfolding very fast. As we speak, interest rates are climbing now to, I think, over 5%. The only way the sheriff can get his jail is the state of Ohio decides to start a public bank like the Public Bank of North Dakota, which has been in operation over 100 years. North Dakota does not go to the bond market to finance public projects. Rather, it uses its own public bank to finance jails, school construction, roads, and other public projects. U.S. banks go to the Federal Reserve's, while U.S. banks go to the Federal Reserve's discount window and borrow at rates of between 1 to 2%, which is nearly free money during there was as recent as a quarter of a percent, 0.25%, about a year ago. That's nearly free money. The rest of us have to get our loans at 5% or more. So if Ohio started a public bank like North Dakota's done, then Ohio's public bank would be eligible for similar rates because it could go to the Fed's discount window, okay? It's really bizarre to me that states put up with this, that they have to balance their budgets, they have to go to the bond market when our independent private banks like Citibank and Chase can go straight to the discount window to get and borrow at incredibly phenomenal rates. A public bank has additional advantages during hard times. Initially, it was created in North Dakota to help farmers survive the Great Depression. If you want more information on public banking, then please let me know and I'll try to put something together for you. A public bank is one way to help our state and county bypass the totalitarian central bank digital currency model. Of course, another reason I'm sharing this with you is you may wake up one day and be told the state has to implement emergency procedures. Perhaps along the lines of something with COVID, I don't know. And so I'm just trying to wake you up that just because somebody said something does not mean that you should accept it at face value. So it's part of why I'm presenting this to you, so that you won't, question what's put before you. And I know you all are very smart men and very capable, but there are a lot of things we all don't know, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. Thank you so much. If I could be of service, answer questions, or provide information, please let me know.
Thank you. Now, Commissioner Pleshik, you're the tax professor. This is
Mr. President,
your wheelhouse.
I would just respond in saying that the example you present of FDR illustrates why tyranny never works. He tried to outlaw ownership of gold, but the exception was for coins minted before pre-1933. The government of Austria immediately began minting all of their ancient coins with the date of 1915, which is why there are so many perfect examples of old gold coins that appear to be in proof or mint state. No rule, no government is big enough to stop freedom in the end. So we share your concerns, but FDR failed. Americans still owned gold even though he tried to stop them.
It was outlawed, respectfully.
It was.
It was outlawed at risk of imprisonment. The reason we have all those mint coins is because people stored them away and hid them.
My point, exactly.
Right, but they couldn't use them to transact and change. They were not liquid. They could not use them to obtain the things and purchase the things they need.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay, well, we'll respectfully disagree then. We'll agree to disagree on that. Mm-hmm.
The government is not big enough to tell people what to do to that degree, and we'll never let it get that far. I think we agree that we should not, but I have a little more faith that we have not and we will not.
I hope you're right.
But thank you to my neighbor from Willoughby Hills, and God bless us all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else? Okay.
Okay, continuing in our first public comment, anyone else wishing to address the board? Anyone else? Very good, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 1, Madam Clerk.
In the engineer's office, resolution awarding a bid contract to Vector Construction Company for the Callow Road Bridge Replacement Project as required by the Lake County Engineer in the amount of $1,047,889.85.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Chair Gills, I know this one's been I don't want to call it a thorn in your side or a bird under your saddle, but this one's been a challenge from the beginning. Anything you want to add to this?
What I want to add to this, I cannot say.
not in mixture polite company?
In any kind of company, actually. Realistically, as you know, this is the second time we bid this. The first time we got no bids at all. This project is probably $500,000 more than it should be. But unfortunately, this is the sign of the times. Today, you just can't put enough money into our estimates, we as engineers, to keep up with what's going on. All bidding at this particular time is a crapshoot. We have a price, we have a bridge that's failed and closed, so we are going to move forward with what we have.
Very good. Anything else for our engineer? Very good, thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
And the Utilities Department resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Operating Fund and Project Fund 595, Division Bank at Water, Waterline Project 446W.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Operating Fund and Project Fund 554 Red Creek Sewage Improvements 280S.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution certifying unpaid water and sewer sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution approving pay application number 23, release of retainage in the amount of $116,711.37 with the Albert M. Higley Company for the Lake County Administration and Renovation Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution designating Commissioner Mark A. Tyler as a member of the Lake County Land Reutilization Corporation Board of Directors.
Move to approve.
I will be happy to second that. And discussion? I'd like to add that at the last meeting, Commissioner Tyler was a guest and an active participant. I think you'll be a tremendous fit on that board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Resolution declaring the Lake County Board of Commissioners regular meeting schedule beginning August 4th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving the final dedication plat for Fairway Pines Subdivision Phase 3B in Painesville Township.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $2,148,461.61.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $1,248,081.95.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash and appropriations within various non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution establishing a fund to be known as One Ohio Opioid Fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Very good. This brings us to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Utilities.
Thank you, Commissioner. The County Sanitary Engineers Association of Ohio had our summer conference earlier this week. You can imagine the excitement of 40 sanitary engineers in the same room. Most of the discussion was about upcoming possible legislation on testing and monitoring and different treatment techniques required for water and wastewater. But to reiterate what Mr. Gills just said, we did have a speaker from the supply sector saying that there really is no end in sight to the supply issues that we've been having. And it seems to be random about what's available and what's not. And because of that is really, I think, the reason for these escalating costs and projects, and just the uncertainty of when things will be available and how much they're going to cost when they do become available. So that's all I have to report this week.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Job and Family Services.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I wanted to share today, you may have heard that last week on July 15th, the Department of Health and Human Services extended the public health emergency. So what that means for Job and Family Services is many of the public assistance programs that were created or enhanced as a result of the pandemic will continue, presumably for the next 90 days. So all of us at Job and Family Services will continue to monitor that. And then, in line with the discussion about the fair, the Lake County Fair, I wanted to share that Job and Family Services will have staff members present next week at the fair to promote our services, to get information out to the public. We'll be sponsoring Kids Day at the fair next Thursday, and we are looking forward to being part of that community event. That's all.
Magnificent. Thank you. And County Administrator Jason Boyd.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just briefly, we don't get we get a number of letters, as you know, but I just wanted to share a letter of appreciation for our building department that I received this week. Actually, the Commissioners received it. Notably, our inspectors, a two-phased project here in the city of Painesville, actually, for a local business. And the contractor wrote a very nice letter to Mr. Strichko, thanking a couple of our inspectors, Patrick Barnes and some other gentlemen who really stepped up to keep a project moving along. I don't want to say there was confusion, but it was a phased project, and what applied in the phase 1 approval versus phase 2. Mr. Strichko was approached, quickly got to his team, the situation was resolved, and the project was resumed in a timely manner. So I appreciate this one individual writing the letter, thanking our team for their professionalism and expediency in keeping projects moving along, and I just wanted to share with the Commissioners that in public session, and I'll be forwarding this letter along to Mr. Strichko to share with his staff. Thank you.
Jason, before you go, I just want to thank you for taking time out on Tuesday to visit the Brightwood Lake Dam project. That was really good to see firsthand. A substantial project, long-term. Glad to see it going forward.
Yeah.
I'd like to go ahead and visit that again in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Tyler. We are making our road tour, if you will, to various agencies, similar to what we did with Commissioner Pleshtik a year and a half ago. Brightwood Lake, you have heard Director Tim Miller, Mr. Gills over the years speak to that project, essentially an inline stream that was dammed 40, 50 years ago. Long story short, a lot of hard work. That dam will ultimately be removed and the stream go back to a natural stream corridor with wetlands. It's been a significant endeavor with about 44 landowners or so around the lake and getting environmental covenants and so on. Long story short, we met with Tim and his team and we took a quick visit to the site to see what a before and after, and I think Tim would like to have the other commissioners come check it out too. It's going to be, I think it's a really unique project. Reminds me of a project at Kenston Lake in Geauga County. Thank you for that. And I think today we're hitting the airport today, and then dog shelter next week. So we're making the round. So
it's good to visit with Tim again. I worked with him when I was the mayor on several stormwater projects, so it's good to catch up and see one of the larger projects going forward. So thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President?
Sir.
I just want to add my thanks to Mr. Strichko as well. In my years in Willoughby Hills, there have been many building inspectors, but one who was immortalized with the name of his own choosing as Ivan the Terrible stands out to me as the opposite of what a community wants in terms of applying the law. We need to follow the rules, we need to be safe, but we have to go out of our way. We have to work as hard as possible to make it easy for our residents and businesses to comply. It's the same set of rules either way, but we have to go out of our way to help people to work within those rules. And I have heard time and time again testimonials from contractors, business owners, builders saying, we love the Lake County Building Department. And I've never heard the word love associated with a building inspector before. So I don't think it's surprising that we would receive this communique honoring Mr. Strichko and his inspectors, but I want to reiterate, they're doing it the right way. They're not scaring or panicking people out of the community. They're working hard to help them comply and really making it easy to come to Lake County.
Well said, indeed. All right, moving on to our clerk. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I wanted to mention that our next commissioners meeting is going to be Thursday, July 28th at 10 a.m. And I also wanted to mention that the resolution passed regarding the commissioners meeting schedule is going to be posted online this afternoon, and it will go through the first week in November.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, old business. Do we have any old business to come before this board? Any old business? Hearing none, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? Any new business? Again, hearing none. This brings us to our second public comment portion. Sir. Well, now that's a way to clear the room. Thank you. I'm sure, Mr. Massey, this is no commentary.
I'm used to it. I'm used to it, Commissioner Hammercheck. Again, Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. What I've been experiencing the last couple of months is that residents in Lake County have been reaching out to me for some help to make the commissioners and the community aware of issues that they would like help in trying to resolve. So I've got several issues, and I'll try to be brief. The first deals with the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System. So many employees listening to this in this room may be interested in this issue. And the OPERS, as it's called, the employer contribution rate, has been capped off at 14% since 1976. The OPERS is not fully funded and is presently only slightly above 82% funded for the Public Employees Retirement System. I'm not sure where that is in line with the Social Security system, but I think all of our pension plans are probably in deep trouble. So the funding of the pension consists of employer and employee contributions and investment returns. Over 800,000 OPERS member participants have taken benefit cuts since 2013 in order to fund the pension by billions of dollars. Inflation, interest rate hikes, and pension reform continue to eat into members' benefits that were promised. The Ohio Police and Fire pension, as I understand, they're seeking employer contribution increase, and unlike the OPERS, I was told that they're not hampered by a legislative lid of 14%. They want to increase the Ohio Police and Fire to 26.5%, which is a 7% increase. I'm not saying that the police and fire are not entitled to it. I'm just stating the facts. There are 7 pension bills that are being considered in the General Assembly, and 2 of the bills have to do with employer contribution increases and transparency issues. What is very important for people to understand, and the government workers, that the OPERS cannot increase the employer contribution rates to exceed 14%. It has to be done legislatively. So the messages, those people that do have the OPERS benefits, if you want to see some change, you're going to have to step up, and you're going to have to go through the legislative process. So through our state employees, you must make your voice heard and your intentions known of what you would like to see. And also, OPERS is not presently offering medical plans, but instead is only offering stipends to its entire retirees. And the group that contacted me, they'd like to see an increase in the employer contributions, perhaps with a phase-in of 5 years. So I mentioned that to the commissioners. I know that there's nothing that you can do, but at least I have a platform to make all of the employees that are part of this OPERS program to perhaps step up and help themselves by going through the legislative process. The second item that I was made aware of was under private selling officer. I really didn't know what that meant at all, but it has to do with the Ohio Revised Section 2329.152, deals with the authorization of a private selling officer. All of this has to do with foreclosures that may occur within the county. Lake County, as I understand, is one of only a few in the state that does not allow a private selling officer. What happens right now if and I should say I'd like to publicly thank Miss Lori Gladding of the Sheriff's Department for helping me understand the whole process, because I was totally a neophyte in really understanding what this process is all about. But if there is a foreclosure and it goes to the court system, the probate court system, the probate court, per the Ohio Revised Code, has the option of either using a private selling officer if it is requested by, I guess it would be the plaintiff in this case, or using the Sheriff's Department. And what we are doing now is we are going directly to the Sheriff's Department, and they are handling the foreclosures. For that, there is a 1.5%. I can't remember the term it was, but there was basically a commission paid to the Sheriff's Department. What I don't know if that goes into the Sheriff's Department's fund or if that does go into the general fund itself, but there is a retainage of 1.5%. Since it really falls under the jurisdiction of the judges, I did send an email to Judge Eugene Lucci, and I asked him basically when was this decision made not to use private selling officers, which basically are using the private sector. If there's companies that would come in and help, to sell the property itself, perhaps more returns could be achieved. So I asked Judge Lucci, when was it made, and why was the decision made to eliminate the use of these private selling officers? And if a judgment creditor, and that's the phrase that's used in the revised code, would request a PSO, would the judges allow it? So I haven't heard from Judge Lucci yet. It's still been, I think he will answer me. I just want to let the commissioners know that that's an item that has been brought to our attention, and we want to try to get a resolution to it. Third item was, and I happened to attend the Board of Elections. They had a training session yesterday, and I asked the question, and there is a lawsuit that has been filed against the Secretary of State, I believe, that it has to deal with there really is only one primary election, although it is split in two. The lawsuit is concerned that if a voter votes in the first primary as a Democrat and or a Republican, can they, in the second primary, can they switch parties? And the lawsuit is trying to get clarification that really it is only one primary, and people should not be allowed to switch parties. The Board of Elections certainly is aware of it, and they're watching it very closely. My concern is that, there may not be an answer in time before the actual election. So that's a problem that some of the citizens had. And the fourth item has to do with the crime lab. I was asked to do some research on the crime lab, the .4 mil levy that was passed in 2018. It's a continuous levy through public records requests that I received from the prosecutor's office and to the budget director. I did see that right now the numbers are every year the crime lab is pulling in $4.2 million of revenues, and their bottom line is increasing by 1.6 million. That's a 38% to their bottom line. Now, I know in government they don't call it profit, but in the private sector, we call it that's profit. Their cash reserves have increased as of May 31st, to I believe it's $6.6 million. And my concern is, since this is a continuous levy, which means forever, many taxpayers, voters do not understand what a continuous levy means. So I've asked the Budget Commission I sent an email to Auditor Galloway, since I understand he's in charge of the Budget Commission, to look into the numbers, because I would like to see that, unless somebody can persuade me otherwise, that $1 million of the 0.4 mil that was passed by the voters, that is put in abeyance or rescinded completely and given back to the taxpayers. I have not heard from Auditor Galloway yet, but I'm sure I will. I just, again, wanted to make the commissioners aware of the items that we are working on for the citizens of Lake County.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Any question?
Yes. Actually, I believe
If you
Mr. Hass.
gentlemen
Yes.
have questions, I'll wait, but I'd like to weigh in on the crime lab comments.
I would consider you to be the subject matter expert, so.
I don't know about the expert, but the bottom line is, Mr. Massey, the Budget Commission has no ability by law to reduce the crime lab levy. I'm not disputing the numbers that you state. You are correct when you say it is a continuing levy. The Budget Commission can only look at a budget of whatever political subdivision, and if it's properly authorized, they're mandated to go forward with that budget. That's a requirement. And the reason this budget, or this levy rather, is properly authorized is because it was by a vote of the people. So that's the distinction and the important factor here. Prior to the last crime lab levy, I know there was a crime lab levy in the late 90s. And the hope back then was that levy would last 15 years. It in fact lasted 20 years. It is the hope that this levy, the monies will last a significant period of time. Obviously, there's instrumentation that needs to be purchased, capital improvements, things like that. But I guess I want to make it most clear that the Budget Commission has no authority to reduce this voter-approved levy.
Is there, thank you, Mr. Hackman, is there anyone in the county government that is looking out for the individual taxpayers? Or can the crime lab continue to make $1.6 million a year? And what happens if the cash balance of the crime lab, let's say it reaches 20 million, or let's say it reaches the same level of the of Deepwood Center, $65 million. Is that okay?
I'm not going to deal with speculation here, Mr. Massey. With regard to the developmental disabilities, there is a rather more recent law that I know you're familiar with, where there is the potential for the Budget Commission to weigh in on that. But again, the last levy from the late 90s lasted 20 years, and it came to the point where it was really important and crucial to put another levy on, and that is what was done, and the voters approved it.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mr. Hackman, and then all I can really do then is I will continue to voice my complaint about the crime lab in this day and age with an economy when you've got double-digit inflation, when you've got seniors that are going to be priced out of their home. We have a prosecutor's office that is continuing to earn $1.6 million. Thank you very much.
But actually, I think, if I could just add, though, it is a common belief that the Budget Commission does have authority to adjust collections and hold things in abeyance. That is, our prosecutor pointed out, is not the case. That's a very common misconception, and for whatever reason, that's not something that ever gets corrected. So thank you. Mr. Hackman for correcting that, because that is something that in the general public people just seem to think that is one of the checks and balances, and it is not. Commissioner Plechnik, I believe you had something you wanted to add, sir.
Mr. President, one thing we need to bear in mind with respect to the crime lab, the county, or any department is that there's not just the annualized cost of salaries and benefits. That is the major liability, but from time to time, there are big capital expenses. Technology is always changing. We're hearing from our narcotics board that the types of drugs that are coming through Ohio are different every other month. And the kind of machines and technology that are needed to analyze these substances safely is always changing too. So we so often as taxpayers, and understandably, push back when we hear from an agency that we need $20 million for this or this or this major need, and we don't necessarily dispute the fact that a new building or a new piece of technology is necessary, but we raise our hand and say, why didn't anyone put some money to the side to prepare for that liability? I think that Lake County is unique in that we actually do put money to the side to prepare for major capital projects and liabilities, as opposed to going back to the taxpayers over and over again asking for more. You could criticize past boards of commissioners for saving a little more than $30 million in our rainy day and capital projects funds, but I would praise those commissioners because they recognized that a new safety facility and jail were going to be needed. And because of that foresight, we're in a position to build that jail without putting a sales or property tax levy on the ballot like so many other counties are doing. If the crime lab were to spend every single penny that came in every single year, the next machine, the next analyzer, the next upgrade to safety facilities would result in another levy. And I think that we would rightly raise our hands and say, why do you keep coming back for more? I do think it's fair to note that these are not cheap machines. These are not cheap facilities to maintain. And so much of this is set by state and federal law that you can't precisely plan for what the federal government is going to require this lab to have next. So I do think it's a fair point that our prosecutor's office is not just trying to have enough money in the budget to pay the salaries each year, but is anticipating the continual need to upgrade those facilities. If you were to take a tour of the crime lab today versus 10 years ago, it looks completely different because the substances that they're analyzing are thousands of times more dangerous. If just a whiff of powder goes in the air, every single person in that building would be dead. And so they had to put up special barriers, airproof facilities and rooms. These are not cheap, and we can't entirely anticipate what the next innovation will be. So I share your concern of being as efficient as possible. I tend not to like continuous levies. I like to be able to vote and have accountability every 3 to 5 years. But I will say, I think we'd all be even more outraged if next year the crime lab announced, due to federal regulations, they have a $5 million expense, but nobody saved any money for it. So whoops, we need more taxes. I think we should give credit where credit is due to our county prosecutor for making sure that there's a fund available for those expenses.
The biggest change I saw, since I just had a crime lab tour 2 weeks ago, was how much more work they pushed through the drugs and toxicology portion of the crime lab, which was amazing to see. I mean, between 2008 and 2014, that was the biggest change that I saw. But going back to the point about the levy, maybe a good question for our legal counsel. I suspect they analyzed it and came to the conclusion that this levy will last 10 to 20 years, probably 15 years.
I hope it's at least 15.
Yeah, and with a declining balance, the expectation is we'll get there without going back to the taxpayers. And Mr. Massey, I can certainly appreciate your viewpoint. We should all be concerned about the taxpayers for any new levy or current levy, any continuing levy. And I believe that the due diligence was done, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
May I add some more comments, Commissioner Hammertrack?
Oh, please, sir. Thank you. The floor is yours, and we are the ones continuing the conversation. So thank you, sir.
Commissioner Plechik, are you aware that the state received ARPA funding, and that money was given to, I can't remember the department, the legal division down at the state, and they told the Lake County Crime Lab that there's $250,000 available to them, and that money has been applied for, and it is to replace a leaky tank that they use to, I guess, fire bullets in to determine the caliber or whatever it is. So there is additional money coming in, even though you've got $6.8 million in the crime lab. You've got the state, chipping in with $250,000. Also, I recall that when the levy was being passed, I was told that the people were told that the crime lab is going to be able to provide more services into the community by actually going out and collecting evidence. They'll be the prime collectors of the evidence because they're the experts. What I am told now is that they will go out, but only if they are requested by the local police departments. And that was a major departure from what the citizens were told when the levy was being pushed in 2018. And also there was an article that Prosecutor Colson was quoted as saying, well, this levy will allow the crime lab to grow. And anytime that I hear a public official saying that the government body is going to grow, I'm reminded of Ron Young's farewell speech when he said that the two top priorities of government is to grow and to protect itself. I'll end my comments there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Anyone else? Thank you. All right, moving on. We do have a request for an executive session. The purpose is legal, pending or imminent litigation. There will be no business to be conducted afterwards. But I have a motion to adjourn for the reasons so stated.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechtik.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today.